know what? Let's look it up. I think we were doing this the other day, looking up the word emancipation. I want you all to write that word down in your notes. If you have notes, you're taking down notes, you have your notebook with you, write down the word emancipation and let's look it up in etymon. In your etymology dictionaries, where the word originally comes from. Feel free to look it up in law. I don't think there it is in law, but we'll look. Emancipation. Emancipation. If you found it and you want to read it to your classmates, feel free to do so. Emancipation. I think we had this discussion about emancipation last week. I was on a program. I can't remember what it's called, but it was an interview, and we were talking about emancipation. And I was able to break it down pretty simple, because we're not idiots. People are not stupid. So we went and broke it down. I'm going to turn your attention to your screens. I looked up emancipation. I didn't even need an etymon dictionary because I already know what emancy means. It says right here, emancipation, the fact or process of being set free from legal, social, or political restrictions, liberations, emancipation, feminist ideas. It means to be free, liberated, liberation, liberating, release. Now, let me ask you all a question. Put your hands up if you are free from legal obligations. Legal obligations. That means you have no contractual agreements with nothing, with nobody. That means you don't have a license. You don't have a passport. You don't use the SIN number. What else? You don't use marriage certificates. You're not into that. You don't use baptism certificate. You don't get what's another one? You don't have any of these. Those are all legal obligations. Put your hands up. How many of you are free from legal obligations? I see one hand up. I see one yes. I see two. That's two out of 36 people. 36 people. Okay? So you're not emancipated. All right. How many people are free from social restrictions and obligations? Because as far as I remember, you can't even say certain pronouns. You can't even say certain nouns nowadays, like retard. Oh my God, you can't say retarded. They're mentally challenged. Romy, I see your hand up. You have a statement? Go ahead, a comment? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Peace and blessing to all the nobles and matriarchs. So I was just raising my hand to say I'm free from social.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's two people there.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to what these people say.
Mm.
Where I'm at right now, can't nobody really, I guess, as they would say, cancel me for saying anything. So I'm still legally obligated because I got the license and stuff, but the social stuff, yeah, can't come around me with that.
Ashe. Thank you for being honest. Right? Ashe.
Point of interest.
Let's go ahead.
As far as all this is concerned, I consider myself to be rid of those obligations as the human being.
Ashe.
As the legal entity, which is the straw man, because all these adhesive contracts has been contracted with the straw man, which is not you, the human being. So when you claim your title to that transmitting utility, then you as the human are free from all these obligations, but you must know how to exercise them.
Bingo. Ashe. That's exactly what Kev says. Bingo. Ashe. Okay. Thank you for being honest.
Thank you. Always. Thanks.
Now, are people free from political restrictions? Are you free from political restrictions? So you're not legal. You're not free from legal. You're not free from social. You're not free from political. So are you emancipated? Because it says it right here. I'm not making this up. Every one of y'all can read. It's a bit of few little letters and words. It's a little one sentence, not even a big old paragraph. It says right there. Now you ask yourself, how many people think they're emancipated? Isn't it over some millions of us? How many people think they're emancipated? I know it's a good thing to think about. It's a good thing to feel. But do you feel that? Because I don't feel it. I don't feel it. Do you feel it? I don't feel it. I only feel it when I'm exercising my nationality. I only feel it when I'm exercising what I am and what I do. Just like what Romy said. He said, man, I don't even listen to what they say. I don't listen to what they say neither because I hear what they're saying. And what they're saying is absolute madness when you actually know the word magic that they're doing. When they're doing their word magic and they're saying stuff on the TV, in the radio, all these places, you have to scratch your head and go, did you just hear that? Did you just see that? Did you just... Learn the words, people. Learn where they come from and their true nature of their word, their definition, what they really mean. And look around you. You see, the jig is up now. And this whole realm or reality that they have the people living in, that movie is over. The movie's done. The credits are rolling right now. If you're Christian, Muslim, whatever religion or flavor ice cream you're with, I want you to look at, for your homework, well, not for your homework, for your extra studies, if you feel like studying, I want you to look at the very fact that all of those, the Bibles and the Maccabees and the Qurans and all that stuff, those are all contracts. I want you to look at it from a contractual agreement, dealing in the world of commercial dealings, because the world is commerce. And it's not only just a commercial world, it's a school also. But I want you to go from the angle of, I want you to see it from the commercial side. That contract's over. Revelations. Okay. All right. So the contract's over. The next question I want you to ask yourself is, what's the new one coming? Is there a new contract? I'm going to tell you no. There's no new contract other than for you to study the other books like the Cabal. Just because you're Christian or you're Muslim, don't be afraid of the Cabal books. Don't be afraid of Septuaginta. Graduate yourselves. Come out of the believer stage and come up to the faith and fruition knowledge and consciousness. You graduated. If you read that book, the Bible, over and over for generations and years, you've graduated. Okay? Leave the book alone or use it and put it right beside the Cabal and start elevating your minds. You graduated. If you read that book, you know that book inside out, you've graduated. Congratulations. You graduated. Now, let's go to another level on the same train. On the same train. The Cabal. How many people here did the homework? By show of hands, how many people did the homework? Excellent, excellent, excellent. iPhone, I see your hand up. Would you like to tell the rest of the class what the homework was? Because I see there's 39 people here. And I don't think they know the homework was. Or if they heard it, they didn't do it. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
I hope I'm not showing myself up, but the homework that I was studying was the, hold on, let me just find the title. Diplomatic and consular immunity guidance for law enforcement and judicial authorities.
Correct. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And you were able to read through it, go through it. Do you get it? Do you understand it? Can you explain it to your classmates?
I feel that I was able to understand, I would say, a significant amount, and I was quite happy that I was able to understand, because I wasn't expecting myself to understand any of it, to be honest. But I'm not sure I'd be able to translate that knowledge. The only thing I would say is, I guess, about the diplomatic immunity. I could understand a bit of that, and the fact that there's different types, I guess, different, not rankings, but different types of immunity, and only certain allowances within those different diplomatic immunities, I guess. So, as in, if you are a diplomatic agent, you have like full diplomatic immunity from other jurisdictions. So if you're in a different country, then you'd be immune to any of, even if you were to commit a serious crime, you still would be immune unless your jurisdiction rejected your status, I believe.
Shit. There you go. Wow. You said you didn't do much, but that's a lot more than what I.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thanks.
Right? Okay. So you kind of get it. It doesn't, you're not above the law. Because what people think is that when people correct their nationality or their status is that we're trying to be above the law. Does that sound like we're trying to be above the law in any form?
No, actually, it specified actually within the text. It did actually specify that it's not actually supposed to be used to make yourself above the law. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but it actually mentions that as well.
Right? So we're not above the law. It's just we don't follow the local acts, codes, and ordinances. And we have a choice, an option to carry our pedigree and our nationality through the laws that we live through. The laws we live through are the treaties and our constitutions. Hi, sister. I see your hand up. The floor is yours.
Grand Rising.
Rising.
Actually, my hand was left up from the last time I didn't actually put my hand.
All right. Okay. So you weren't.
So I think I put it down and then go on.
You're saying that you didn't work. So you mean that you didn't get home? Basically, just saying.
No. No, I actually did. I did get through quite a bit of it. To be fair, I did read quite a bit of it. I congratulate iPhone for being able to understand it to the point of actually read, going over it to you. I'm not sure if I'm able to do that, but I did actually go through the homework. If I'm being honest, I got through that half of the pages of the actual text that was available, and I was hoping that I'd be able to go back over it again because I usually need a second reading anyway. But if you want to ask me a question, and I can see if I can answer it, but apart from that, I would like to put my hand down.
No problem. Good stuff. I just want everybody to understand, really, truly understand how to move as a national. Correcting your nationality isn't just words and some stuff on the paper, but it's your actions. All right. Thank you, Matriarch. Excellent. Romy, I see your hand up.
Hey.
Point of interest.
Yes, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes. So as I was going through the homework, I can't say that I fully grasped certain things. And when I say that, I question, where do we fall when we nationalize? Because from what I read and what I'm getting, to be an agent, a diplomatic agent, you would have to be performing duties on behalf of the government, because diplomatic agent is the highest post. So as a national, are we all performing duties on behalf of the Moorish government? Do you have to be a part of the consular? Stuff like that. Questions started to swirl in my head.
Right. And that's the question too. So the answer is no. There's the diplomatic agent, which are ones who are working in the diplomatic mission or consular's post.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have diplomatic members. The members is the national people who nationalize but don't directly work in the government or for the government, but working to create community energy by creating communities together and working together as a community. When you, I'm going to use this example. You've always heard me say that in every major country in the world or major city in the world, there's a Chinatown. The reason why that there is one there is because Chinese have to do the same thing too. They travel the world and they bring their nationality with them. So when they come to certain countries like the US, Britain, or any country in the world, they come as nationals first, establish community, establish businesses in that region or area or city, and then have the members of the diplomatic membership or nationals that are diplomatic, but they're just members of it, of that nationality, come into those major countries or cities and start creating businesses and community. While they're doing that, the regular Chinese people who are not nationals, that just want to get an opportunity, or they just want something to, something to finance them, or to study other lives and study world and all this stuff. They just come over here and decide to become Chinese Canadians or something, Chinese United States Americans and all this kind of stuff, when they don't have to, when their community that they come to, no matter where they go in the world, has them as a little China. We're the only people on the planet not doing that. Like, there's no little Nigeria. There's no little Zimbabwe. No little Trinidad. On paper. I'm not talking about how we feel about Saturdays and Fridays. I'm talking about on paper, where you can actually go to that area and the street signs, even the street signs would have the flag inside of the street signs itself that represent that's the area that we're talking about.
Okay. So my next question about what I read and stuff like that was swirling around in my head was, as I'm reading this and I'm seeing the United States, where I'm a bit confused or need clarity on is because we're the true Americans, right? We're America major, we're the United States major. So when I read this document and I think about when you nationalize, now you come back to representing United States major. Mm-hmm. But when you're dealing with policies and policy enforcers and stuff, they're part of United States minor. So My whole thing is, how do I put this? How do I even interact with somebody who's not even part of a real entity? They part of something fake. So when we talk about diplomacy between nationals, how does this apply to, no, I'm part of the real United States, and now I have to speak diplomacy with this fake entity or this person who's under the umbrella of this fake entity, It's just like how you're saying the Chinese nationals. Mm-hmm. All right. The Chinese, they claim their nationality as Manchurians. We're part of the Moorish Empire now. Those are two nations. But when I'm interacting with a policy enforcer, he's not even part of a nation. So it's like, what are we really doing here? Like, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to get out, but it's like.
No, I do, because I have to deal with the same situations, right? Because this politics all over the planet, right? Yeah. So we have the same in where we are, right? And what we have to say to them all the time is that we're diplomats. We show our cards. They call if I get let's say I get a policy enforcer that's ignorant of the law and doesn't understand diplomatic agents and nationality and all that stuff, then I call, in Canada, in the law, you're allowed to request for the supervisor or the sergeant to come to your location immediately. And they have to show up, and they will show up. And they know more than the constable that's at the road side with you. And when I deal with them, 100% times I'm let go because they realize that we're under treaty law. When you talk about diplomatic agents or diplomatic members of a diplomatic mission or a consular post, what you're really saying is we have a treaty with you guys and we live by that treaty. The treaty says that y'all can't even adjudicate against us unless we actually commit a real crime. It's called a grave crime.
Mm-hmm.
A grave crime. What's a grave crime? A grave crime.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Nah, you could go ahead.
Grave crime is obviously murder, to kill somebody. Right? Those are real crimes. And as long as you or anybody else or I don't do that, they cannot adjudicate against you. All cases would have to be adjudicated underneath the treaty, which is the law that you live by. Does that make sense? It's like carrying your house everywhere you go. And where your house goes, in your house rules and laws, you're the one who says, oh, you come in this house, you have to take off your shoes at the front door. You may have slippers for me if I need to come into your house. That's what this is all about. Nationality is nationalizing your estate and all of your properties being in your house. And the laws, the treaties, is the laws to your house. And you're allowed to carry that house anywhere you want to go on this planet. Reason why is because as nationals, especially you and I and all our kin, we're the mothers and fathers of civilization. So if China can open up a China, little China anywhere, imagine what you can do. Imagine. And they're only opening up a little China's. And I'm only using little China as an example. But when you do it, it's not a little China. It's the entire continent itself. People are going to realize in the future that they have diplomatic status. And when they realize that they have diplomatic status, they're going to also go into the Vienna Convention of 1969. Everybody should have that document, the Vienna Convention, by now, and possibly read through it, because that was one of the homeworks, was to read through the Vienna Convention, right? And associate who is the state, the receiving state, versus who's the sending state. And you're going to realize that the only position that we as a people can only take by default, is the receiving state. The receiving state. Those who don't know what I'm talking about, this is what studying is all about. And reading the documents and doing the homework. You would know the receiving state versus the sending state, and the position that you're supposed to be really taking as a people when it comes to your nationality. You may cry about, oh, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. Well, hello. It has to be put back in place, and you have to totally understand how to move as a diplomatic member when you nationalize. It's really simple. And they're giving it to you. It's not even in no broken language. It's straightforward. A, B, C. Very, very straightforward.
Thank you, Noble Cam. I yield.
Thank you, Romy. Good stuff, good stuff. Were you able to get what our noble Patrick did last week? what he did last week was amazing. Okay, he totally overstood it, even read the definitions from beginnings all the way, showing you even your duties as a national when you nationalize. And this is not duties that you have when you're part of the diplomatic missions or the consulate. You don't have to be part of those things. But if you decide to, you want to, feel free to, right? (1807).
Grand Rising Nobles, point of interest.
Point of interest. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
This has been read from the international law. And it says diplomatic immunity is a status granted to diplomatic personnel that exempts them from the laws of a foreign jurisdiction. Would I be correct by saying that although we may be present in the land of our occupation, that we are still foreign to that land because of our nationality and our declaration, proclamation, and the status that we have obtained as being a diplomat under the nationality, and also the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations of 1961, which most states have ratified offers of diplomats acting as officials. So we being in a diplomatic qualification because of our nationality would give us the status of officers and diplomats acting on behalf of our nationality. Could I have a confirmation on that from your perspective?
You hit it on the button. 100%. 100%. Okay? That their laws don't follow yours. It's not to say that you're above the law. You're not above the law. It's just you don't live like that. It's impossible for you to tell me to live like a polar bear. Can I live like a polar bear? Polar bear has a law to it, and they have their law to their own pedigree. I can't live like a polar bear because I'm not a polar bear. It's impossible for a polar bear to force me to live like a polar bear. Impossible.
Well taken. To continue on the diplomatic law, it further states that diplomatic law is a field of international law concerning the practice of diplomacy and the rights and obligations of state representatives on the territory of other status. Sorry about that, other states.
Other states.
Yes, the broad corpus of diplomatic law derives from one of the oldest principles, and that oldest principles I'm presuming to be the Convention of Peace of Vienna and other conventions of and treaties of peace and friendship.
That's right.
Thank you. I yield.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Noble. Hope everybody was taking down notes. If you're recording, please record. This is very, very important because people ask me all the time, how? Well, this is how. This is how. All right. Willie, I see your hand up.
Yes, Grand Rising, everybody, and especially to our High Chief, and then the amazing job that you are doing to educate us. Now, I just want to say that if I was entertaining personally any doubt about this whole thing that we're learning, there is no longer any doubt in my mind that this what we're learning is authentic and it's true and it's real, because we're not just hearing it from you, our teacher, we're hearing it from various circles. And I was kind of blown away. If you had a share screen situation and the time, I would have shared a clip with you where some of your exact words were being repeated by a doctor about how the world is run by the treaties, the conventions, and the constitution, etc., etc. And when people violate it, they're treasonous, and all of that, and all of that. Yeah, man. So I have seen it in action, and I have also to a certain degree exercised my right in terms of sovereignty, not necessarily with the card because I haven't received it as yet, but the principles that are embedded in the whole thing. I went to Florida and I was there for 2 weeks, and I was very nervous about coming home. And I was, because I am not vaccinated. They asked me when I was going across the border, "Are you vaccinated?" Well, I said, "Yes, we all are vaccinated." But they didn't ask me which vaccine. So we have been vaccinated from children, so they didn't specify which vaccination. So so we went on our merry way, and we came back, and that was the nervous part because Canada is supposedly the strictest. Now, when we came back, I was very nervous about it because I've been hearing all kind of stuff about fines and this and that. So I started exercising some of the principles that I've learned here and in other circles, and I've used such terms as because I am not there's no we haven't been vaccinated. So when we were coming, so where no vaccination, people where no testing was done, no quarantine, no speaking to public health, nothing like that. And all I did was to exercise certain key words that we need to employ. When they asked me about, the Canadians asked me about my vaccination status, I simply said to them that is a private medical matter and I do not wish to disclose that to you. So that was one. I when she said we have to speak to public health, I said I decline your offer. No, thank you very much. And I do not consent to speak to public health. And when she said, well, you can be fine, I said, well, that would be illegal because you cannot force me to put an app on my phone, and you cannot force me to take a test, and you cannot force me to speak to public health. So I declined all those offers. When she see how I handled myself, the most this lady could do is I think they're in a spiting situation. So what they did was to write this ticket and ask me about what I bought and customs. So she sent me to customs, and I went to customs and I was trying to film it. I got just a little bit of it. And all they did was to search my stuff. And while they were searching, I said, "Did you know that the passport that I'm carrying, it talks about you're not supposed to delay the bearer of the passport, and we should be allowed to not be hindered in our journey. So y'all better hurry up and do what you're doing, because if you make me miss my flight, it's gonna cost you." Man, they did hurry up and allow us to just go back home. So all I'm saying here, folks, and I could go on, but I have, I mean, I watched a video this week. I was just blown away where a sovereign person was being asked about um permit to do something on his building, and when that guy took on the city council, jeez and Pete, first did man look and said, "Do you own any properties?" Do you own my building? I bought this with gold and silver, as we taught here. Yes, and he said, and man, you would have to see the video. And when that guy was done, he exercised his sovereignty. The people, the city people, sat dumbfounded and apologized to the man. You hear me? Apologize to the gentleman. And he looked at them and used the same language. He said, I don't sue. I lean. Oh my gosh. It was just awesome, man. Y'all need to watch that video. But, this platform is very empowering, and I would encourage people to just suck it in and do what we need to do, because it is no joke. It is real. Yeah, man. Respect.
Shay, thank you for that, Noble. I have you on my list to make a phone call to, because we've talked about your IDs and stuff. Everything's been already ready, and I just have to talk to you about it, because I'm actually handling your file personally, because I figured you'd want the personal touch, so I'm the one handling your file personally. So I'll give you a call during this week or during this weekend, and we'll get talk. All right?
Enough respect. Yeah, man. I yield. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. iPhone, I see your hand up. The floor is yours. Thank you, by the way, Noble. That was really noble. You can put that in the chat about that video, what the name of the video is. And we can take that in too, because that's what the world's going to. You see, it's not just us waking up. Even Europeans that are tired of it are waking up too. Everybody is. So no one's exempt from waking up. Waking up is a universal and planetary thing. All right. iPhone, I see your hand up. The floor is yours.
I was just going to ask, are we, as nationals, are we diplomatic agents?
Diplomatic, if you're working for the mission, the diplomatic mission or a consular post, then you'd be an agent. If you're not working for one of those two platforms and just, living your regular life or doing your business, then you'd be just a member, a diplomatic member.
Okay, so diplomatic member. So you said either, so you're only a diplomatic agent if you're working for the mission or what?
If you're working for the consular's post.
Consular's post, okay.
Which is a consulate in layman's terms, a consulate.
Okay. And you mentioned, thank you. You mentioned earlier that if we commit a grave crime that we can be penalized, but actually, to be fair, you did say just now that we're not diplomatic agents, so it's only diplomatic agents that, no matter how serious the offense, unless their immunity is waived by the sending state, so that only applies to them. So for us, as a diplomatic member, that means that it's exactly what you said then, that we would, unless it's a severe crime. So if it was a severe crime, what would happen with us? How would it work? Does that mean that we still operate under our jurisdiction, or we would operate under theirs?
Under theirs. If you do a grave crime, they have the right to try it.
Okay.
Penalize. What we have to do when that happens is we're only allowed to be at the case itself and make sure that they don't violate your rights. You get what I mean?
To an extent. So how do you do that? So they'd be able to try you, but we'd have to make sure that there's representations from our jurisdiction. But then how would that? So what would our rights kind of?
Yeah, we're allowed to be there and make sure that they don't violate due process. The due process of law and how
if you work in IT,
to be adjudicated. Like for an example, let's say
remote monitoring and management,
right? My job as a public minister and other consulate members would be to come to court and make sure that they don't violate due process. Due process is the process of the hearing from the what's it called? Pre-trial, all the way to trial and everything. And then them not violating due process and using acts, codes, and ordinances to keep you under or to make you pay them. Right? Because you didn't kill them. You murdered one of somebody's family. So they have to follow the Constitution when it comes to dealing with your case. And if they violate that, then that's treason right there. It's a war crime. They're not allowed to do that. Right? So we're allowed to be there and make sure that they adjudicate the case properly. Another thing that they do that violates the hearings is they pick a jury. Right? The jury can only be us. Not some jury from their jurisdiction. And the jury has to be conscious about law. They have to be qualified and know law. You know, like how they pick a jury in whatever jurisdiction you're from, and they just pick regular people. Hey, they'll pick Margaret, they'll pick Nancy, they'll pick Tommy, and then a European over here named Jake, and then over here, you know, a Chinese guy, and then a black guy over there, and none of them know law.
Because they're not your peers.
Yes. So they don't know law. How can they tell you that you're guilty of something? Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So would you be so if you're the one being tried, would you be a person to select your peers or try and find your peers, or would you find someone that would have access to your peers, if that makes any sense?
That's why we would be there, because we have access to your peers. We would have access to your peers, and we would have to pick the jury and have them be picked and selected.
Okay.
For that trial to happen. It's kind of like we're working together, but we're making sure that they don't destroy you. That comes from our people. And one thing they can't do is destroy you. So they have to follow the laws. And what they haven't been doing for 150 years is they've been violating the constitutions and treaties. That's all it's been. Violation of constitution and treaties.
What have you done since you talked
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very welcome. All right, thank you for that, matriarch. Kev, I see your hand up. The floor is yours.
Greetings, Cam. Greetings, everyone. I just wanted to ask a question because based on my research, I've been finding some new information. Now, we're basing everything, but we're not basing everything based on only treaties, but based on the factor of treaty law. Is it wise to say that, based on my research, is it wise to say that treaties do expire?
They do.
Okay. So in that sense, based on my review, what is happening as of right now from the international, I think it's the international courts, that treaties are being renegotiated. All of the treaties has expired after the 90-day period. Am I on point with that, or am I still in the dark?
Well, not on the 90-day period, because
or 90 years, sorry.
Years. Okay, yes, that's different. Yeah. Yeah, so 90 years period, it ends. For us, it never ended because we haven't been playing, you know how we're United States major, right? And there's minor. What they've been doing is pretending to be United States major every time that they would vote in somebody for the Republic side of the fence.
Okay. Right? So basically they acted in de facto. So that means that since we did not have a consensual agreement between the two parties, or how many parties that are in the contract, that means that, to me, that contract is nullified. So at the end of the day, to me, it seems like that contract would not stand.
Not
so
really.
maybe that.
Because
Okay.
because when they vote a president into the republic space or platform of the United States country, right? But they're pretending to be us. And when they do that, each president that sits there in their inauguration, they have to take an oath to the treaties and reevaluate the treaties or restart the treaties all the time. And they have years to do that. 50 years.
Okay, so
it never.
So basically, what you're saying after this period, from what I'm aware of, that they're actually renegotiating or revamping these treaties. Would this be fair to say this is the reason why all of these laws are being broken and they're infringing on our people and all of these things?
Yes, it's because they're violating treaties, and the only one who's bringing it back right now is us and Trump. Because Trump's the last Republic president, or still is the Republic president.
All right. Thank you so much for the clarity.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Noble. That's very, very good question. Well, we're the only ones bringing back the treaty and Trump. That's what when he says, I'm going to make America great again, that's the only thing he can do is bring back the Constitution and the treaties. And he kind of gets it. So he knows that at his inauguration, he had to take an oath to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and all the treaties. Every 50 years, our treaty expires. And they have to do that before that happens. All right. 1807. I don't know if you had a question because I wasn't sure. I didn't get to put your hand down or anything. But do you have a statement? I see your hand up. 1807. No? All right. We'll move on. David P., I see your hand up. The floor is yours. David P., I see your hand up.
Yeah, Grand Rising, Nobles. A little bit late to class. Had a minor issue to go deal with. Friend indeed. Just a comment about the treaty and so on. At least from my understanding in terms of my study and so on, the treaty is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, right? And based on what I read in the treaty, is as long as one person is at peace with the other person. So even if if one person is at war with the other one is maintaining is being peaceful and friendly with them, then the treaty is enforced for the people, explicitly for the people who are being peaceful, right? Which is why, like, when we practice, I think that's why Joali had said that we have to learn how to love and not to hate. Because when you practice love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, then you automatically operate in friendship and peace, right? Against them, so that is the way that we can enforce the treaties by continually being maintaining the friendship, even as they war against us. That way, when they break the laws of the treaty and so on, we can then enforce it from that perspective. So, because people have to also recall that since we would have surrendered a long time ago, that we are non-combatant prisoners of war on our own land. So we are under occupation. And because we are prisoners of war and we are acting in a peaceful manner as nationals, once you are nationalized, then the treaty automatically works for you, right? And but if we were to become belligerent with them, then the treaty. I think I can't remember the exact article, but it said that if both parties decided to get into a war and so on, then and it wasn't, you couldn't negotiate out of it, then each person would have basically 9 months to get their people out of the land of either of the two powers, the two contracting parties, and so on. So as long as we remain peaceful with them and act honorable and stay in honor at all times, then we will always have a case for enforcing the treaty of peace and friendship, as well as the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. So that's why you don't have to be well, you can be vexed at them, but you still have to grin and bear it and smile and deal with what needs to be dealt with and so on. Circle your emotions and just deal with logic, critical thinking, and enforce the law. Because when they break it, then you have a case against them and you can take it to the highest court or whatever high court it is in your jurisdiction, or you can lien them or whatever you need to do. But as long as you don't behave belligerently with respect to them, then you can enforce your treaty. I yield the floor.
Shay, thank you for that, Noble. Excellent. Honor X 8X. The floor is yours.
¿Cómo estás, señor Cameron?
Peace and love to you. Or Pax, amor.
Greetings, matriarchs and empresses, kings, prince. It's just a quick question. If we are supposed to be Moors and free, so to speak, how is it that one of our members who, I'll say, for instance, in your standing as a teacher, can be kidnapped by one of the so-called enforcement people and kept in jail for up to a year and more without being released? Can you just sort of make a comment on that, please?
Well, there could be multiple variables that happen, multiple things that happen, including when that individual was taken into custody or kidnapped, if you want to say that. There could be a lot of things. To answer that question, you have to be specific on which case we're talking about, because people have their own ways of expressing themselves.
Right.
And when you look at a case like that, I can't really say anything until I actually look at the case itself.
Right. Okay. There are a number of people online claiming to be Moors, and they have various different things to say. And I've been listening to quite a lot of different ones. There's a young lady called Sharon Tracy Gale Bay.
Right.
She was teaching. I saw the video. She was teaching at her home.
Right.
The Roughneck boys came in, kidnapped her, and took her away. I think she was in jail for over a year.
That's right. Yes, she was. Yes, I remember. Yeah.
I can't sort of get no answer as to how is that possible.
How's it possible?
When you think of me as an ordinary, I'm going to say ordinary person, yes, a nationalized, but don't have that kind of knowledge as she does. And yet still she was taken away.
Well, it's not about the knowledge. It's the sweat and tears, the perspiration, what Noble Drawley would say, standing on your square. You see what it is you ever heard of the movie Wizard of Oz? where Dorothy wanted to go home.
Right.
And had to click her heels how many times? When she went to Oz and she said, man, all I wanted was to go home. Everybody got what they wanted. The cat got his courage. The straw man got a brain now. The Tin Man got his heart. I didn't get to go home. How do I go home?
Right.
I said to her, oh, you always could go home, girl. You had the ruby slippers on your feet. All you had to do, you had to click your heels 3 times. 3 times. When you look at the platform of court, you're going to see the level of 3 times. And let me tell you from my experience, when it happened to me, when I was kidnapped, right? I realized through my own study and my own experience, the 3-time knock that you have to do. They do it all the time. They dropped the COVID-19. There was a knock on the door right there. When they blew up the World Trade Center, the World Trade Center, that was a 3rd knock right there. That was a 3rd knock right there. They do it everywhere, and they want to see if you're competent in law, because you have to understand, masses of people that don't know sometimes stumble on certain words that open up the doors, and they have to knock 3 times. They do it in court all the time. Okay? They do it in everything all the time. The 3 knocks. All right? So they're testing her, and she passed it because she knew that the treaties and the Constitution is what she stands under. And she waited her time, and she stuck by her guns. They did knock 3 times. They tested her because they wanted to see if she's a nigger or is she an actual Moor, an actual American citizen. And they tested her, and she passed it.
Okay.
One thing about nationality is not to scare people. And it's really up to you, honestly. But when you claim nationality, because of the world the way it is and the way it's been moving for the last 150 years, you have to prove that you are that. So there's going to be times that you might be tested, seriously, on all levels, on different levels. You're going to be tested. If you're not ready for that testing, then this is not for you. They want to know if you are competent in law or not. They're not here to play games with nobody. They want to know if you're competent in law or not. Ignorance of the law, there's no excuse.
So basically, really, they're fighting hard to keep you on the plantation still.
Yes, if they can keep you on the plantation, that's a green light, go for them. And that's another yay for them. And they get to survive a little bit longer.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. I yield. Have a great evening.
Thank you for bringing that case, because that case, I was actually following that case when that happened. And I was already teaching and doing all my stuff when that happened. And it shocked me because I was like, Jesus Christ, imagine they came in on me like that. Like, oh my God. Like that was vicious. They came to her home, like, oh. I was like, whoa. That happened to me. So that put my ears up, got me looking at what's going on and seeing what's going on. And I realized, oh, okay, she's just being tested. That's number one why Taj and all scholars have been rescue, like how people would normally think they were supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be doing that. All of you are supermen and women. Get out of the bars yourself. Bend them. You have the power to do it. All right?
Thank you for that.
Very, very welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Excellent. All right. It's 2:30 right now. We're going to continue. I have a little part of the history lesson that I wanted to give to you. It will help with the development of your nationality, and knowing history and law go together. They do not separate. Put it in your notes that law and history go together like the legs on your body. With one leg, you can only hop. With no legs, you can go nowhere. But with both legs, you can run, jump, swim, even kick, block, and do all the greatest things when you have two legs. Don't be handicapped and use them both. Willie, I see your hand up. The floor is yours.
Yeah, just a quick thought that I want to share with Anna Atex as relating to the question that he just posed. These people are not working or operating in honor. That's one of the things that we need to remember. They use force and illegal force against people. Think of this. You're going to have them visit your house if there's your neighbor, for instance, here that you're scolding your child with a belt, and your neighbor should call them. They would show up. What are they showing up with? They're showing up with a gun, with handcuffs. If you get out of line, these same people who are claim to be protecting children from you using a belt to discipline them or scold them is going to end up shooting and killing. So these people are not operating in honor. They're a total contradiction. So don't expect them to operate in honor. They're not. And that's the most I could say why they will sometimes, because even the video that I just shared in the chat there, the guy will tell you that he just reached the point where he doesn't care. He has been locked up for 4 years, but he still stand his ground. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And that's what Gail did. That's what she did. I saw the video. She didn't fight them. She knew that whoever was arresting her was incompetent because she was saying certain things that were very competent in law, and she knew her stuff. She knows her stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But she didn't wrestle with them. She went with them, and she knew that you can fight this on higher levels, on multiple levels. That's another thing too, is that you can fight these things on multiple levels. You know, and that's what if it has to go that way, then let it be.
Yeah, and there's a lot of deception because, like, we talk about peace and friendship. There's no darn peace and friendship with these people. We're at war with them. They're at war with us, and it's a perpetual war. Because if they weren't at war, they would honor everything, the treaties and the Constitution, but they're not. So it's forever a war, a battle. We should not have to be fighting these battles, but we have to fight because if we stop fighting, then they win and they will be all over us. So, it's an ongoing battle, and we have to remember that when we take on this, it's not a walk in the park, it's a challenge, but we have to be people who are resolute and decide to, as I say, stand our ground and fight on. Yeah.
Shay.
It's not for chickens.
Thank you for that, Noble. All right. And he's partly right. I agree with him. And the part that I agree with is the fact that you have to understand that it's been a war for a long time. And what's not conscious or what's not information in our culture is the true history of our relationship with these people. That's the problem. If our people knew the true relationship, the true history of our relationship with them, then you would realize, wait a second, that means we're still in war and that we haven't enforced the treaty and constitution enough around the world so that we have our allies to wake up. Our allies waking up and saying, oh my God, here, thank you. They're home, they're back. And we're doing that. But it takes all of us to do that. So, okay, so we have a big duty because the majority of the world doesn't remember that you were the mothers and fathers of civilization and that you were ready to take your position again. All right. Along with what Willie's been saying, about the war. Part of the lesson today is just a history lesson. It's going to help you correct your mindset when it comes to what is really the history on this planet. All right. So I figured maybe we'll do this. All right. There is 48 of you here. How many people seen this before? How many people here have seen this before? How many people here relate this to discrimination? Relate this to, a flag that would conquer Black people? How many people here know the true history about this flag? Is everybody here familiar with the true history of this flag? Galaxy, I see your hand up. The floor is yours. Go ahead, the floor is yours. Galaxy, the floor is yours. No? You unmuted yourself. Go ahead, the floor is yours. Galaxy? All right. All right. This is the Confederate flag. Most people would relate it to the KKK and the KKK having this flag. And when you symbol or see this coming from them, you would look at it as some sort of thing about hate, or they don't like Negroes. For your notes, any flag that you see with the X in it is one of your flags coming from your bloodline. Phoenician bloodline. Tahuti. If you ever seen that movie where the movie Black Panther, I remember when that movie came out, Black Panther, and members or the people of Wakanda threw the X up right on their shoulders. If you look at all of the Egyptian mummies where they're buried in their casket, you'll see them in their arms crossed over in an X formation. The stars represents your soul because you are stardust. Your stardust, you're calling it soul. Soul is Spanish for sun or Latin. So when you see an X, it's your flag first. I know the X in Jamaica's X. Even Britain has one. This is how they're kind of pretending to be you. This Confederate flag is our flag. We're the only ones who had Confederates on this planet. Europeans never had that, ever. This flag was taken from us 1861, 1865. They've captured our flag. For those who are into sports, if you're familiar with the game Capture the Flag Football or Capture the Flag, well, exactly that game is the war that we had, where they captured our flag. And they've been waving in our face, nah, 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 boo, boo, I got your flag. And we're looking at it as they hate niggas. They hate blacks, Negroes. But that's our flag. Back in 2016, they were giving us back our flag. They did the ceremony and everything. I believe this was in St. Louis or somewhere in one of the states. And they were giving back the flag. I watched the whole thing. And when they were giving back the flag, the Negroes or the U.S. blacks, the Afro-Americans, got mad. And some of them were getting violent, telling the Europeans to burn that flag. Get that flag out of our view. That flag represents the KKK. And I watched it, and a little tear came down my eye because little did they know that's your flag. So what did the Europeans do in the video was that they did a ceremony to wrap the flag back up. And they told the blacks, the Afro-Americans, that when you wake up, we still have it and you will get it back because they're not allowed to burn it. It's not their flag to burn. That's your flag. It represented the Confederate and the army that we had here in all of the Americas, protecting the Americas. We had a war with them prior to 1861. Before 1861, in the 17th century, we also had a war with them. When we had a war with them in the 17th century, we won that war. It ended so quickly. But ending that war, we gave them what is called the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1789. You may find it as 1789, 1790. I've seen 1791. When we gave them that treaty, they continued to violate our contracts that we have with them. One thing about history is that they keep putting themselves as the authors or the creators of things, and they are not. As you see this millennium evolve more into the Aquarian light, you'll realize that we were always the answer to all the problems on the planet. And that we hold in our DNA the creator God seed that creates everything physical. Our job was to be the creator's children and create above and bring it down below to the physical to enjoy it, learn about it, and have the experience of it. Study it and become it. They call that in law, in nature, life. Not abbreviation, but the word life. Life is the lessons learned on this planet, the school planet. also a commercial planet that teaches commerce. You have no choice, because if you trade with me, then we are doing commerce. But you've forgotten that. For some reason, you've forgotten commercial dealings and commercial law that you've created. I want you to put in your notes if you do not have it. They cannot create anything. You are the creators, children, and have been creating things from mind, which is the universe, and mental, brought down from mind into physical, where you can smell, taste, hear, see, touch, and use all your common senses to learn how to use that biological technology that you're using every day called a body. You've been given instructions through Bible, through Quran, through Maccabee, Veda, on how to use your body. It's time for you to grow up. It's time for you to stand up as adults, not children, mind, but conscious, and be able to handle your own affairs. This Confederate flag used to have a cannon in the middle of it. It didn't look like this. It represented all of what you're commonly known in your mind as all the native children and tribes all over, whether the Iroquois, whether it's what's it called, Amaru, Taino, whether it's Berber, whether it's Celtic, whether it's the Pic, the Moores, the Dubs. When Michael Jackson and them made that record, We Are the World, they weren't playing. Because every time I study and I get to a certain study that involves us on a global scale, I hear the song in my head all the time. And I know that I have achieved that knowledge and that there's much more and I'm on the right path. You're in the school of life. Thank you, Dre. I love that. Learn information from Earth. I love it. It's exactly that. That's exactly it. You hit it right on the head. Why did I do this? Bring this Confederate flag to you? Well, because I'm trying to tell you something. The world is trying to give it back to you again. You may not see it the way I see it, but I do see the negative. I do see what you see, but I also see the positive too. And in the positive light of it, I see them making efforts all the time to give you back your stuff. I see it all the time. But what I also see is that when they're giving it to you, a lot of times you're not realizing that they're giving it to you back and that they're trying to say sorry. I know that sorry is not good enough. There's no sorry in this, to be honest. When I saw the Pope going around from country to country trying to apologize, all this kind of stuff, I said he need to be there with a bulletproof vest on. Because there's no sorry in this. There's no apology. There's no words you can say that could bring back all the people that's been murdered, missing, docile even to this very moment, still sleeping under all of these spells and Nazi programming. Apology. Yo, wow. It's a good effort. But it's still our duty as the people to not just stand on the square, but to really know the true politics of this planet, the true politics, and exercise who you are. And last weekend, we gave you words like diplomatic status, diplomatic agent, diplomatic members, to give you a little kind of understanding of how things work when you're a national. What's going on this planet right now is that they're trying to give you back your things. Chinese have been trying to tell you about yourself for the last couple years now. I can't count how many videos that the president of China has been trying to tell you to get up. Putin, another man, Russia, they're trying to tell you to get up also. And it's not a get up, stand up like Bob Marley says, even though Bob Marley was trying to tell you to get up from a long time anyway. A lot of the work has been done, but it still needs you. It needs you economically, believe it or not. I'm serious. As much trouble as they've given us all these years. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. As much trouble as they've given us all these generations, at the end of the day, they actually need us. Back in 1987, they realized that they couldn't destroy us completely.
Are you aware of this one simple technique
Reasons why
my client Miriam
they've
used
realized
business
that if
coach
they
to
destroyed us
generate
off
over
the planet,
184,000
they would have destroyed
in just 6
themselves.
months? And no,
they would have
it's not
destroyed
creating a massive
themselves.
social media following.
And that they wouldn't be able to reproduce at all. You're not here alone. Since 1987, and I'm pretty sure you have eyes like I do, you've seen some of them actually have bodies. Europeans with bums and bodies now. Where did they get it from? Well, you do the research. They need you. And not only did they need you in 1987 and on to this very moment, now it's financial. They need you financially. Even though they've been using you financially for the last couple generations, they cannot bring back the gold system without you. Reason being is because you're the gold people. This flag that you're looking at, the Confederate flag, represents the golden people on this planet. You are that. You're calling it black. You're calling it brown skin, but those are all different forms of gold. You shine when you know how to receive energy into your body more than what food does. We won't go there today. Learn that 99% of all things on this planet came from you first. Whether it's the history, the flags, everything. It's not to be bossy, but to let you realize and get you back into the mind frame of mothers and fathers of civilization, children of God. You've heard it so many times from all your preachers and pastors, but didn't consider it as something being that on earth. God is everywhere. God is the air, the sun, the moon, the stars, but also in flesh. Many of you who are on this line, our ancestors come back. Welcome home. Thank you for coming back, because we have a duty to finish. Your mother sent you. Thank you. Tell her I love her. Hug her if she's still here. If she's not, tell her in memory, because she can still hear you. You are the ancestors come back. Every one of you, as much as you are haunted, and some of you are very haunted, I know. But that doesn't make you evil. It makes you express your energy in your way. Return to the ancient ways of our forefathers. Willie, I see your hand up. Is there a question you have, or?
Yeah, I was wondering, since as there are so many grounds to cover as it relates to like the process, if some of our time could be dedicated to the how to, like I came across this 1099-C and 1099-A, how to fill it out and things like that. I wanted to ask you, is that form, most of the form that we are introduced to, it seems like it's based on the United States. I wanted to ask you, are those applicable in the, because remember they do the IRS in the US and here they do the CRA. I don't know if the forms are applicable. And so the auto would be it would be a good thing to follow to, not just the history, but people want to know now, how do I do this? How do I fill out this? How do I get this done? The how to would be, yeah. So can you say if the 1099 are those applicable to us?
Good question. And here's the answer to that. Years ago, when they first started all that crap, right? All those documents, we were supposed to use them, because the system was created for us to use that, because there's no money in the system, period. There's none. It's a negotiable instrument and an auditing or an accounting system that has been created because there's no actual physical money in the system. So yes, you're supposed to learn about it because it's part of history and it happened. It's still happening right now. Right? But here's the problem. They're not doing anything in honor, just like we've been saying this whole time. Mm-hmm. That there's some that are doing it, there's some that are following and staying in honor, and there's the majority of them not staying in honor. So now, when I teach how to set off a bill, when I teach how to discharge a debt, right? You go through some time for you because maybe they're staying in honor. And then there's times that it won't go through. And it's not because it didn't work. It's not because you did something wrong. It's because they're not staying in honor. And anytime I see it all the time. People come to me and they say, you know what, Cam, I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I say, yep, you sure did. Right? But then I say to them, did they do A, B, C, D, E, F? You get what I mean? Because they have to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. I know that in commercial law, there's one step that makes sure that they stayed in honor. And when you don't see it, then you know that they're doing fraud or they're not staying in honor. Mm-hmm. You want to know what it is? When it comes to finances, I don't care what it is, or even an order of any kind, the rebuttal always has to be an affidavit. I don't care what case it is. The rebuttal has to be an affidavit. And the affidavit has to be notarized with a seal on it.
Mm-hmm.
If they do not produce that, then they are violating commercial law. They're violating everything that's going on. And that's when you can bring a charge or bring them up to court and shut them down, because that's a super violation. That's like watching basketball and somebody punches a guy in the game, when that's not the game. The game is to bounce the ball and throw it in the hoop. When they do not produce that, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, financing, this, that, a court case, then there's no case. They have to produce that. I 100% look for that. It's got to be notarized, an affidavit. And that's what negotiable instruments. So let's say I send a negotiable instrument to, I don't know, whoever, my gas bill. Okay, gas bill. And they don't send me back an affidavit saying that it was dishonored, that's notarized by an attorney, then they have violated all of the principles when it comes to negotiable instruments and accounting. Period. Right? Well, that's a case right there. That's thievery. And I'm not saying everybody does that, because I've met people who know this stuff and they're like, no, Mr. Bay, it's already discharged. You know, they either letter or we follow the principles of tacit acquiescence. When they send me a statement next, and it's zeroed out. Period. So you have to know what battles to pick and choose.
And just to say that I've heard that sometimes when they say they don't honor it, but they did not. Let's say you send them the 1099 and they said that they don't honor it. They record and say they don't honor it, but they didn't send it back. If they don't send it back, it means that they have already discharged the thing. But if they can bully you into continue, and you might just say, okay, you know what, I'll pay, because they use fear tactics now. And so they end up letting you start a new contract with them. So we have to be careful of that, right?
Well, not necessarily, because another thing I want to say is that, yes, we teach this stuff for people to understand it and know that that's part of history. But in real time right now, right at this very moment, back in 2019, all of the major countries, most of the major countries claim bankruptcy. And if they're bankrupt, then you can't use none of those instruments.
Oh, okay.
Plus back in 2014, in the motu proprio that the Pope put out, which is called the Final Judgment Civil Order of 2014, talks about EINs and SIN and anything that's like that, that's connected to any type of estate. Those numbers are going to be dead. So like SIN numbers are going to die, because he's saying that he made a declaration that they're going to remove them.
Point of interest?
Yes.
Although those instruments are to be removed or are removed, the liability is still in place of the past occurrence. So if in the case that we have been using those, which holds the major part of our equity, wouldn't that be also a liability for them, although it's not in existence anymore, but it has created the damage previously?
Well, that's why we teach in this class to take that property and put it into a trust, because it's yours already. from the gate. They weren't allowed to do it in the first place because there's no money in the system.
Point of interest.
All right. Before we move on, as far as I've read, that those instruments are international. They're not subject only to one location.
That's right.
But there are other documents that have to be submitted with them to create compliance. So it's not only the use of whether the 1099 or any other of the 99s, but they must be utilized with other instruments for compliance to take place.
That's true. You're right about that, 100%. But in real time right now, when you do the studies, you're going to realize that some of these departments don't exist no more, or they're on their way in dissolving. 10 years ago, they weren't really dissolved. So yeah, all of these things would be valid and do them. But we're getting to a point where gold and silver is going to be the currency again. And they have to dissolve all of those departments. Like the other day, I went to go look at some of the departments. I went to Ottawa myself, the so-called capital of Canada. And I went to the Supreme Courts. They're dissolving. Everything's on Zoom from there. And they barricaded and blocked off all these different parts of the streets. And I don't remember Ottawa looking like that. I remember used to go to Ottawa in the 90s, the 2000s, or 2000s. and it was a beautiful city, and there was no blocking. There was no buildings really closed and all that stuff. But today it is. And they're dissolving. A lot of their departments that they claim that they have are dissolving, and they don't exist no more.
Point of interest.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Based on the 1099A, 1099B, and the different instruments, these instruments are basically for the private side of the ledger. A lot of people are aware of the public side of the ledger, but they're not aware of the private side of the ledger. Now, originally, if you have a ledger, that ledger has to be balanced, right?
That's right.
And what happens is it's all imbalanced. Hence the reason now the system is looking as if it's going bankrupt, it's falling, because what happens is they resort to using these federal notes. And because they're using the federal notes and they're not using the credit that is there, because remember, they took all of the gold and silver away from the people. I forgot the year, but they took it away from all the people within the Western world, like the Western side of the world. So at the end of the day, these things are just methods of discharging against the credits. Hence the reason a lot of Americans, right, they don't know that they should be living a free life. If you want a car, you should be able to just go take a car. If you want groceries, you should be able to go and take groceries, because I've watched individuals for the past few months have used these instruments and done that throughout their life for their things. But it's a very long, detailed process of learning it. But once you learn it, yeah, it's basically on the private side of the ledger. That's all it is.
That's right. And that's where your diplomatic status comes in. Because if you really dig into diplomatic status, you're exempted from a lot of things. A lot of things. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you from Canada how many things that you're exempted from. And this not only is in Canada, but it's in the UK, it's in the islands, everywhere. It's not something hidden on how much you're exempted, what you're exempted from. And man, in Canada, wow, I'm surprised that we're exempted from so many things. So many things, including air flight. Think about that. Yes,
just want to say one more thing. Like, just want to give an example of what the things you are supposed to be exempted from. But because we're acting in the public, right, and because they have us as a corporation on the public side of the ledger, and we don't deal with the private, this is why it's imbalanced. So things such as your light bill, your groceries, medical care, flights, everything everything is supposed to be free of charge because they took your gold, well, your ancestors, our ancestors, gold and silver to fuel the system. I think it was Nixon. I'm not sure. I think it was Nixon who actually took that initiative of taking the gold and silver and so forth. So these are the things that they don't want us to know. When it comes to trust law and all of these things, they don't want us to know trust law, contract law, law of equity and all of these things. But these laws that I'm speaking about, they're actually in the commerce side of the system, right? If you go back to common law, on the common law side, yes, you do have contracts between individuals. Sorry for using individual, but in a connotative way. On the other hand, when it comes to corporations, they have us using the public side of the ledger, and hence the reason all of this destabilization and all of these things around the world. Greed. Digress.
Ashe, Bram. Well, yes. Hope everybody was taking notes, man, because you hit it right on the head. Right on the head. You are really studying, Noble. I appreciate that, man. You're really doing your thing. Wow. I hope everybody got that. Oh, my goodness. Okay, that's the system. It's not made up. It's something that they had to do because we're not being who we are. Who are we? The mothers and fathers of civilization. We ran everything. And because consciously we're utilizing we're under, and I hate saying spell all the time, but it's 99% that, but it's the spell of let them do it. Let them handle this. Let them do this. Let them handle all this stuff, and making you think that they're supposed to be handling it when it's supposed to be you, me, we're supposed to be handling it because we're actually really the government. It's the people. We, the people. The people. Not one person. We've become very lazy over generations. Very, very lazy. And because we become lazy, we are in this position. Not realizing that our duties is a global thing and not a local thing. You know how we're doing things everywhere in the cities locally, not really looking at it from a world perspective, that it's the world that we're supposed to be helping first. When we help the world first, then we've helped ourselves. We always keep looking at it from a local view, and not realize that, no, it's not a local thing. It's a world thing. And it 100% has to do with you. 100%. Everything that's going on this planet has to do with you. But you don't realize that. David P., I see your hand up. I see your hand up. The floor is yours.
Oh, sorry. I just had a brain freeze. Oh, now I remember it. When you were talking about the immunities for diplomats and so on, what each noble could probably do in your jurisdiction, you can probably do a general search for. There's an act that just about every state has. It's called the Diplomatic Privilege Immunities and Privileges Act. There's one in every state, right? Or country or whatever, wherever you happen to domicile. So there's one for Canada territory, for Jamaica, for UK territory. Just do a general search on Google or DuckDuckGo for a Diplomatic Immunities and Privileges Act. That's as it sounds. And when you read it, it will tell you everything, what laws, what specifically acts and so on in your jurisdiction you are exempted for, right? Because even in my at the territory I'm at, I was reading through, and even at the very end of it, it actually lists maybe like 5 or 6 or 7 acts and the specific subsections, sections and subsections of those acts. So like juries, like, you can't do jury duty, because you obviously be a foreigner, what things you can qualify for, what import things like what applies to, like, road, using the roads and your land conveyance and all of that kind of stuff. So outside of the book that Brother Cam has suggested that we read for homework, you can do research into that particular act for your jurisdiction, the jurisdiction that you domicile at or your resident at, and read it, and then collect all of the other acts and so on, and you'll see everything that you are exempting from, so that you'll know how to operate, because each of those acts will also then tell you how you're supposed to operate to get those other things as well from that perspective. So they all go together.
Yep. Ashe. To expound on what David's saying, you'll realize that you weren't supposed to pay for no house. You weren't supposed to pay for any of these things, that you can get all of these things. One of the nobles came on today and let you know, hey, did you know that your groceries and all that stuff is already paid for when you're a noble, a national, and exercising your diplomatic status? All of it. You're exempted from gas, everything. And I want to show that tomorrow. So thank you, David. Let's put that as part of the homework. Look in your jurisdiction for that act, and tomorrow bring it and let me see how much you've read about it and what you understand that you can do where you're from. All right? That is excellent.
Oh, just as an aside, just a point of interest. In some of the acts, it also includes points about the consulate as well. So it would also there may be a specific consulate act for your jurisdiction as well. And as a consul, you also are exempted from a number of things as well. And according to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, you are also a consul as well. And if you're doing consular court, so you get immunities as a result of being a consul as part of a consular court. Because like in a consul, for example, whatever part of your home, wherever part of a building or the entire building that you're conducting using for your diplomatic mission or for your consul or consular court is exempted. They can't, there are a lot of things that they can't do as a result of that, and so on. So you can read both acts and read that also in conjunction with the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic I can't remember diplomatic affairs. I can't remember these things. Vienna Convention on for diplomats, and then the Vienna Convention for consular courts, and so that those 3 things. So the consular, the Vienna Conventions, the Diplomatic Immunities Act, whatever consulate act in your jurisdiction, plus the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and the Constitution all go together. And that will tell you how you're supposed to function, what you're exempted from, and how you're supposed to deal with them, and how they're supposed to deal with you in everything that you do. So they basically go together like a puzzle. And when you have all the pieces together, you'll know how to operate correctly and in your correct status and your correct mindset. I yield the floor.
Ashe. Love, love, love. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that, Noble. All right. All right, Dre, I see you put it inside the chat. Diplomatic Privilege Act of 1964, United Kingdom. Excellent. Now, that's for the United Kingdom. Go ahead. Everybody from United Kingdom, read it. Even if you're not from the United Kingdom, please have it as part of your library. David, excellent. Thank you for that, noble. Okay, I hope everyone's taking down notes, please. I hope you're taking down notes. All right. Before we go, I want you to think about this. Because people call me a lot talking about travel. All right. This is why we need a consulate and a diplomatic mission in every country in the world. And for the last couple years, maybe 2-3 years, I've been trying to put different people around the world have a consulate or a diplomatic mission in their country. Now, you know why? The reason why I was doing that is not only to nationalize the people in that country, but also create community and communication. If you ever notice that when you're flying around the world, whatever passport you fly on has an embassy in that country. Did you notice that? Well, it's the same with diplomatic missions. In order to fly into that country that you decide to fly to or take, if you decide to use your nationality or the MAT-D and all these kind of items, I suggest you do your research to find out if they have a diplomatic mission inside the country itself or a consulate. Reasons why is because then you'll be able to fly to that mission. Peace and love to everybody. I hope you had an amazing day or evening with us, and for you to come back and keep studying with us. If you're new to our class, welcome, welcome again. Continue and keep bringing people to the classes because we need you to know this information now. There's no better time in this history. No better time than anything, because they say time's run out, but we are creators of time. Man is creators of time. And we can only create the time to make peace on this planet and make sure that all of our kin know who they are. Peace and love, everybody. We'll talk again. Bye-bye for now. Peace and love, everybody. Have an amazing evening or day.
Peace and love. Peace and love to all.